All right, we are on.
All right, welcome everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, and welcome to our regularly scheduled trustee meeting, the 1st of September. I'll officially call this meeting to order. Ms. Kraft, if you could please call roll.
Sure. Mr. Rivers?
Here.
Mr. Grumbles?
Here.
Ms. Tranto?
All right, do we have any agenda changes for this evening?
Chair, the only thing I might just recommend is because Jason is on from Bricker, we may want to just take the pace thing out of order to let him go about his business, but that'd be up to the board.
Fine with that.
If there's any way we could make the attorneys wait until the very end, I'd like to recommend that.
And then I am
our clients appreciate that.
removing the executive session. We will have there will not be an executive session this evening. So with that, why don't we move first to the item in regards to the PACE. Jason, if you could, if you're on, if you could introduce yourself, give your name and address, please.
Yep, thank you. So my name is Jason Tiemeyer. I'm with Bricker and Eckler. We're at 100 South 3rd Street in Columbus, Ohio, 43215. So the situation, the Board of Trustees approved the PACE project at the last meeting on, previously approved the PACE project, including the special assessments for the PACE project. Following the approval of those special assessments, which under the existing legislation are to begin collection in 2021 with tax year 2020 taxes, the lender and the borrower, in preparing for closing, determined that the special assessment schedule did not adequately reflect the business deal that they had entered into, or as they understood it. And so, even though the assessments were, included in the signed petition of the property owner, which authorized the Board of Trustees to take action on this, they determined that it did not, reflect the business understanding that they, had previously come to. And so they're now requesting that the Board of Trustees move collection of those special assessments to coincide with their business deal. So this would result in the special assessments first being collected in 2023 with tax year 2022 taxes. So same term of the special assessments, same aggregate amount of the special assessments. It's just a matter of moving the collection date to coincide with the underlying loan involved in the transaction. The one other update that occurred as a result of the move timing, as well as, they've been going through with plats for this property. They had recorded one kind of right after we had gone through with the approvals, and the county auditor had raised some good points about just making sure that the special assessments matched with the existing parcels and the future parcels that were being created as a result of the plats. So we just tried to provide a little more clarity in terms of the allocation of the special assessments to the impacted parcels to make sure that that all lined up with the plats the intervening plats that had taken place, as well as the feedback we received from the county auditor's office.
So is there a formal resolution here that we need to update tonight?
Yes, so the property owner provided a amended petition to provide authorization for this this movement, and then there is a resolution just amending the assessment schedule to match what was in the amended petition.
Did Mary Ann put those in the backup materials, Chair?
Is it in the template? I'm going through now.
I didn't see it in the template.
It's not in the template, but it is in the backup material.
Here, let me.
Is that what refers to the site map and the resolution amending assessments? Bricker 2 Greenworks.
I have
Yeah, I believe this is
Screen.
correct.
Okay,
Okay.
they're out there.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Is that 17? There we go. 1710, the meetings. Okay. Trustee Grumbles, do you have any questions? Anything to add?
No, I'm okay.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-302, approving an amendment to a petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects under Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 1710, and amending special assessments levied by Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jason. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, very much appreciate the time and attention to this. The next phase of this development and the PACE project for that is in the hands of Andrew and Mr. Betts right now. So we're working through some items with them. So you'll be seeing my face again here pretty shortly.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yep, thanks all.
All right, so that moves us right along to the next item, which is our consent agenda. Do we have any questions?
No questions here. Just want to revisit Mr. King, because these are consent agendas. I always think that, a summary of what's going on the Facebook page that the rest of the board and fiscal officer Kraft could share with the community would be of benefit. So in other words, we don't need to say that we paid Menards for lumber, but we might say something to the effect of, we appreciate the community sharing their concerns with the condition of some of the trails. We approved expenses to get those fixed, some of the repair work's done, and we're working towards expanding the trails. We approved acquisition of right-of-way, that kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Certainly, trustee, and I was going to share what Aaron and Mike Kelly gave me some updated on their various projects they've been working on, and I was going to share that as part of my update and call them out for their hard work. So
yeah, I think that's great. I had a resident, more than one actually, notify me over time about the condition of boards and stuff, and they were fixed in short order, and I got follow-up, hey, where are we at with it? And they went out and saw it was fixed and were super appreciative. So I think this stuff is obviously of interest to the community. So thank you for that.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-303 and 20-304 for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
All right, that takes us to our zoning report. Ms. Bonnie.
Okay, yes, thank you, everybody. So as an update on the zoning report, on Tuesday, September 15th at 7 p.m., the Zoning Commission will be having an organizational meeting that will involve approving several pending minutes that we've been behind in over the past few months, and discussing on electing a new chair and vice chair that evening. Following that, on Thursday, September 17th at 6 p.m., the Board of Zoning Appeals will have 5 applications The first one is to seek an area variance for a swimming pool at the Estates of Glen Oak. Following that is a conditional use for a construction of an addition over in a residence on Lewis Center Village. Following that is a conditional use for a monument sign over at the campus at Hidden Ravines for the new signature of dermatology. Following that is another conditional use for a monument sign over in the Green Meadows area. And lastly, a conditional use and variance for an addition to the existing church known as North Unitarian Universal Congregation. And lastly, which is going to be following up as the next items on the agenda would be to schedule hearing dates for the trustees to hear the Route 23 overlay district and rezoning application zone -20-01, which is the reserve at North Farms proposal. So if I could, should I continue on?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'd like to schedule the hearing for the Route 23 overlay district. The zoning commission did recommend approval with a majority vote of 4-1 for the overlay district. It went through 3 revisions with the zoning commission members, and I believe staff, the commission, and our 23 team in general is pretty happy with the results of what transpired on August 25th. So at this point, we're now ready for the trustees to set a hearing date.
Michelle, are we good with setting that up for the next meeting on the 21st?
I believe that'll work for us. We're going to be doing another big outreach push on Thursday with the team and sending out new notices and updating our social media avenues for that too.
6 p.m.
That'll work.
Chair, the only thing I would share with you is, and I don't know if Mr. Kuckler had anything he wanted to add about the date, but we have gotten a number of interested folks from the public to comment. So I just would throw it out there for your consideration of maybe whether or not you'd want to do that as a separate meeting, but it can work on our next regular meeting. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Andrew, are you talking about for the overlay district or the?
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry. My bad.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. But if Andrew, I mean, is there anything coming up at the next meeting that would hinder having the hearing date?
Nope.
Yep.
I think the overlay is going to be fine. So,
Okay.
sorry about that. Just jumped.
Trustee Grumbles,
okay.
are you good with that date and time?
Yes.
All right. So I will make the motion to approve resolution 20-305 to set the hearing date for the Route 23 overlay district at 6 p.m. on September 21st at Township Hall or via virtual meeting.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto.
The last agenda item under the zoning report is to schedule the hearing date for the rezoning application number zone -20-01 of the reserve at North Farms. The zoning commission on September 1st did recommend approval by a majority vote of 2-1 for the application. And then as Andrew has mentioned, we have been getting several comments and emails and letters from the public with concern of this application, and I'm sure the board has also gotten the same concern. So I would like to recommend to the board to schedule a special hearing for this application.
Well, and I'll also add, I've gotten feedback from more than a few that this meeting was originally an AM meeting. I think there's 3 meetings left for the year that are morning meetings, and that maybe changing those to evening would be a preference. So that's something else just to throw out there. So do we want to do a special meeting for this, or do we want to, Mag, we definitely want to do an evening meeting, but do we want to change our next meeting to an evening meeting just in general? Any thoughts? Trustee Grumbles, do you have a preference?
With this particular application, because of the amount of resident feedback, it might be worthwhile to consider a special meeting. I expect it'll be at least an hour to 2 hour meeting just to handle the discussion here and to make sure that everyone that has a comment is heard. I'm not opposed to a special meeting. If we had a regular meeting with light content, light agenda, it would be fine. We could get the business needs out of the way and regular township issues out of the way, and then transition over to that. So either approach would be sufficient for me. But I do agree with moving the morning meetings to the evening. More people getting back to work, and with all things considered, with the way residents are accessing the meetings now remotely, their kids are at home, that kind of thing, it probably will provide more likelihood that those who want to engage in a meeting will have the opportunity to, if we shift to an evening standpoint with work days wrapping up and as many parents available home and that kind of thing. So that's food for thought there.
Mr. Cuckler, do you have any preference as far as dates or?
We don't. Morning, afternoon, evening, whatever's best for the good folks of Orange Township, no problem. We've been accommodating the whole time throughout this whole process, so whatever's best that you think. Obviously, looks like everybody's pretty fired up and there's a lot of energy and work going into this overlay, and that's the big hearing on September 21st. So, anything past that is fine.
Sounds like everyone's pretty flexible. Michelle, what are your thoughts?
I just want to make the comment that, I do anticipate this zoning hearing to be longer than others. At least that's what has happened this year. And I spoke with Andrew earlier today about we'll figure out the best approach to handle the public comment for that evening. But I do expect this one to be a little longer than usual. So. And I anticipate the applicant to have some form of a presentation, which they've been doing for the zoning commission hearings, and we'll have to open it up for the residents to either speak or read the comments on the YouTube chat. And, if I'm in favor of doing it on a regular meeting, if we were to have a lighter schedule, but I would feel bad for the other team members here if they have to all night.
Well, Chair, we can shoot for October 5th, if you change it to the evening, which would be at 6, and I can try to work with the staff to get all that we can in the next meeting. And if, I can do my best to try to schedule around it, I guess, if that's the direction the board wants to go.
We're fine with that. No problem.
Yeah, and Michelle, I think we can handle the bulk of stuff up front, and then that way we can, if non, zoning members want to depart at that point, we can dismiss them, and if they want to do that. I don't think that's I think we've had to do that in the past with some of the longer meetings, so it's not a constraint. So
works for me.
So what do you want to say, 6:30, 7 o'clock then on the 5th? How much time do we want to give our business up front to get taken care of?
I'd like to set aside an hour minimum. I would say maybe 2 hours just to be safe.
Are you talking about for the hearing, trustee?
Yes.
So trustee Rivers, as far as like the regular meeting, I can think of a couple of things that Mr. Cowan's working on. And, one thing for the fire station that's going to be brought up tonight. So, if we can sort of work around those things, I think 30 to 45 minutes, if I can shoot for to have it done within that time period. So you tell me if you want a half hour, 45 minutes for the regular meeting, and we can make it happen.
I have one question. Will this be a Zoom presentation by the applicant? Again, same electronic platform?
I think we'll plan for it being a Zoom meeting. If things continue on the right track here and we see some progress, more things opening up, I like to get back into Township Hall for meetings, but we'll see what happens here.
Okay.
Next week or two.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we say 6:45. Then if we don't get done in time, we can come back after the zoning hearing and wrap up anything we need.
Sounds good.
Ms. Kraft, we're on 20306, right?
We are.
So I will make the motion to approve resolution 20-306 to set the hearing date for case ZON 20-01, the reserve at North Farms, on October 5th, 2020 at 6:45 at Township Hall or via virtual meeting.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cuckler. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much for everybody's time.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Park report, Mr. Cowan.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. If I could back up to the consent agenda, I'd just make a couple comments. Do you mind?
Yes, please.
I know Trustee Grumbles had a couple of questions and I appreciate that. But just run through the four that I had on there real quick. The Menards purchase order, as it says, that is lumber and bolts for repairs to the bridges at 1680 on the trail. We're going to do some extensive work there, and the lumber and materials, the estimate we have is at $5,240. So it's not just going to be a few boards. We did replace a few in the meantime that were bad, but we're going to do a lot more work on that structure. Paul Peterson Company guardrail repair. That was from a car accident in early June. They damaged the guardrail end piece. Those are very important to have in place. So we called Aaron called the guardrail contact that he has, and they came down and put an end piece on right away. Since it was an accident, we have the sheriff's report and all the information for the driver, and we sent that to our insurance company for reimbursement. I understand they're going to contact the driver's insurance company, so we're working on that. The Cordis Namath Engineering purchase order. That's a then and now purchase order. That's from the original North Road Park development, phase 2 design back in late 2017-18. We're still working off of that contract a little bit, so that's the reason for the then and now. And Dunn Associates LLC, the North Road Trail right-of-way acquisition process. That price is to do the work we need to pick up the last 3 parcel right-of-way or easements so that we can complete that trail from Lewis Center all the way up to Shanahan. Two of the property owners are very anxious to get them moving, and the third we still have to make contact with. But I also sent that project to Alan Freeman, the gentleman coordinating some of the grants for the township, and he is looking into a grant for that when it comes time to construct those trails. So that's all I had for the consent agenda. Moving on to the maintenance report, if there are any questions on that. The maintenance report, just happy to share with you. Storm damage last night was minor. Just had some cleanup, no trees blocking traffic, so we were pretty lucky. I understand some surrounding communities had a lot more difficulties. The paving has begun. The last piece of the program, the blacktopping, they started today in the township. We hope they will be finished up by the end of this week, so all that project will be completed in its entirety. Lozelle Road, I don't know if you recall, this started some time ago last year. The county presented a engineer drawing for repair to a culvert along Old Lozelle Road. It is in the township. The north side of Lozelle Road is in the township. The south side is in the city of Columbus. But the north side, the part that we're responsible for, there's a culvert that is washing the edge of the road away, and it's quite a steep drop off. So that is the, we've already hired the person to do the easement acquisition, and we're supposed to have that back completed by the end of this week as well, so we could move forward with that project. On to the parks report. In addition to the things you approved for the consent agenda, I have 5 agreements or resolutions for you to consider. The first 2 are from the same company, S&ME, and they both deal with ponds at Orange Township. The first is an agreement for dredging and construction cost estimates for the pond at 1680 Township Hall. The second agreement is from S&ME. I'm sorry, I have that backwards. The first one is for the dredging and construction cost estimates for North Orange Park. I apologize for that. There's 2 ponds there, and we're looking at just dredging those out and kind of bringing some life back to them. The second agreement is for the pond at 1680, and that work will include recommendations to the board with cost estimates for either dredging that pond or turning it into a wetland. The third item up for consideration is the approval of Lewis Center Trail Phase 2 construction contract with Eagle Bridge Company. The contract amount is $680,232.60. I apologize, I had the engineer's estimate with me, but the engineer's estimate was around 720. So we're under engineer's estimate. This is for the construction of a trail from Bell Canyon north along Lewis Center Road up to Waukegan Boulevard. So, looking forward to get this constructed. The last 2 are both for Corda Engineering, Corda Namath Engineering. The first is for consideration of the inclusion of a splash pad and additional parking into the North Road Park Phase 2 development. These were kind of afterthoughts, but we think they're really needed, especially the parking. Soccer nights, that's been pretty full. It's being well used. It's really nice to see that. And lastly, the last purchase order agreement is for, again, Coeur d'Namath, and it's for the swimming pool concept development improvements. I met with an architect and a representative from Corda at the pool a few weeks ago. I think we mentioned this at one of our prior board meetings, that we were going to just take a look, maybe get some feedback, some ideas of just how to make it better, how to make the queuing work better, just make a better experience for our pool users, and that's what the result of that will be. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
The pond at North Orange, then the dredging will take place in the spring next year.
That is what was in the proposal. That's kind of the time frame we're looking at. Yes, they'll come out this fall, do their engineering assessments and design work, then we can bid it over the winter with the work in the spring.
Great. Trustee Grumbles, do you have anything to add?
No, I brought up the I don't know, Bill, if you're referring to, I sent an email to Andrew earlier today too, but just stating that, right now, I think more than ever, the number one resident concern is around that I get, parks, maintenance, things of that nature, just because people are utilizing it so much more than I think typical. And so, just to say that it's not a comment on the amount or anything of the lumber, but more so that it obviously is indicative of the amount of work and upkeep and improvement being done. And I know that our community and residents are certainly interested in that and appreciative of it. And I think more than ever, it's important that we convey the hard work we're doing so that they see that we're not stopping. The pool upgrades, another great example of ways in which we're trying our best to optimize amenities, both now that they can use. Splash pads, another example of that. But then subsequently when we're able to open back up full scale. And I think that the details are critical right now. And of course, the trails for years have been of importance to many members of the community. Campaigning a year ago, I can recall that being brought to my attention at doors and via email and discussion. I know that folks are very excited to see the trails continue to expand and allow access throughout the township. And I know they look forward to continued growth of the trail system, especially some of the more landlocked areas of the township that don't have access to them today, or that are struggling to get to trails or have breaks in a trail and things like that. So more so wanted to just clarify that that's the nature of my suggestions. And I appreciate the hard work that you've done, Bill, and that the team continues to do to make sure that our residents have the best experience possible. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And it is a team effort, clearly. And we've got a good group of folks behind us making us look good. So I appreciate their efforts as well. So thank you for that.
All right. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-307, which is approving an agreement for services with S&ME Incorporated for dredging design and construction cost estimates for the North Orange Park ponds.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 20-308, authorizing the issuance of a purchase order to S&ME Incorporated for dredging design and construction cost estimates for the North Orange Park ponds.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-309, approving an agreement for services with S&ME Incorporated for alternative analysis for the Orange Township Hall Pond.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
I make the motion to approve resolution 20-310 to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to S&ME Incorporated for $20,400 for the Township Hall Pond alternative analysis.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
And last one, I make the motion to approve resolution 20-311 approving Lewis Center Trail Phase 2, project number COTF-247, construction contract with Eagle Bridge Company.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
All right, and I believe that takes us to public safety report. Chief Noble.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
I'm sorry, did
Um,
I miss a resolution, Bill?
Yes, I think so. We've got a couple more, the purchase orders and the agreements. Yep.
Sorry, Chief. For some reason, I had 5 in my head, and I thought I was
Sorry about
them all. So I got a few more here. All right, I make the motion to approve resolution 20-312 to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Eagle Bridge Company.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-313, approving North Road Park Phase 2 splash pad and parking additions, modification request 2 with Corda Namath Engineering Incorporated.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
And still got some more.
Yep.
Make the motion to approve resolution 20-314 to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Corda Namath Engineering Incorporated.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
And I make the motion to approve resolution 20-315, approving North Orange Park Aquatic Center swimming pool concept development improvement proposal with Corda Namath Engineering Incorporated.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
One more.
Oh, my goodness.
One more. Make the motion to approve resolution 20-316 to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Corda Namath Engineering Incorporated.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
All right. Did I cover everything, Bill?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Now, Chief Noble.
Good evening. I put on the agenda this evening the roof replacement project at Station 361. I believe that I had provided the board earlier some documentation from the Garland Company. They came out and did an assessment, so there was quite a lengthy report that they provided. Wanted to give the board plenty of time to digest that and look at it. And I thought tonight would be a good time to bring it forward and kind of get some direction. So a little bit of history. If you recall, after a storm we had, we saw some shingles that were laying on the ground off the building. So we reached out to our insurance company, had them come out. They sent an adjuster to take a look at the roof and found that there was some roof damage. The shingles were drying out. There were some that were missing, some nail pops and other things. And they went ahead and cut us a check, a partial check, I should say. They indicated Approximately $68,000 is what they would provide to us. They provided a check and 42,000 and some change. The remainder of that, 26,000, approximate 25 and some change, 26,000 would come later after the project was complete. That is a depreciable amount. And so we reached out to get some RFPs from various companies. We were finding, depending on where we wanted to go, did we want to replace with shingle? Did we want to do a standing seam metal roof, which honestly would be my preference? The cost was to the point where we would need to bid the project out. So I reached out to the Delaware County because they replaced the roof on the building there at Orange and Columbus Pike, I believe 7991 Columbus Pike, with a metal roof. So I reached out to the county to see who they use, how they went about the process. They let me know that they used the Garland Company, which, come to find out, I believe thanks to Andrew, is on state term. So we reached out to the Garland Company. Their agent, Tim Gargaz, came out, and he really did a pretty significant assessment on the building. Understanding that the building is now 16 years old. Unfortunately, the roof didn't get 20 to 25 years, which one would have hoped, since we're into the 16th year. But he assessed not only the shingle roof, he also assessed the membrane structure roofs, which we have approximately three of those. And then he looked at the envelope of the building. And the report that he provided broke all of those projects out to what he felt an estimated cost would be. Now, with that report, and given that, we would still need to bid it out, which Garland Company can do as well. They can put together the bid spec and they can bid that out. Tonight, I really wanted to focus on the shingle roof the roof inspection for the shingle portion. The membrane, he felt, was still pretty decent, although it would need to be looked at eventually, probably in the coming year. And then, of course, to take a look at the envelope of the building, around the windows, some caulking, downspouts, gutters, things of that nature. But really, he agreed that the priority should be the shingle roof, which I would agree with. And in that report, he provided dimensional shingle replacement, which with expected life, again, we're back to 20 years. He provided a hybrid, which would provide a mixture of metal seam on certain aspects of the building with the shingles for the rest of the building, and then a standing seam metal roof completely covering the roof minus the membrane areas, which an expected life of approximately 50 years. I would recommend or suggest that we look at the metal roof. As you look around commercial buildings, fire stations, even the building at the corner of Orange and 23 is a metal roof. I think that would probably get us the longest life expectancy. And the suggested cost, or what he felt an estimated cost would be coming in, is about $300,000. So with that, I really wanted to bring it to you, the board, to see what your thoughts were. Do we want to proceed with having this bid out? We do have those monies from the insurance company that would offset that. So our out of pocket, would be minus, the 68,000 approximate from the insurance company. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts, given that you've had time to look at the documents and kind of digest it, see where you're heading. And if if you wanted to provide me with a direction, either for the next meeting in September, we could have something formal to present to you, or in October.
Well, I think it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to get a longer life out of the roof, you may pay more up front, but you're going to get more value in the long term. So I think the logic's there for that. As far as bidding it out, you said the company that you had talked to has worked with, what was the other?
Delaware County. Delaware County used the Garland Company to basically, they put together the bid spec, they bid it out. They ended up doing the project in the end. And that's how they did it. And that's kind of how we caught on to them. Plus, Andrew provided us the information that they were on state terms. So it kind of made sense to reach out to them since they had already done work in Delaware County for the county.
So it sounds like you've got a proven company there. I don't know. I mean, is there any reason to not get a second bid?
Well, we did do the RFPs, and those were ranging in price. We had 3 different companies provide us some varying costs. You were looking at around 140,000 they estimated for the metal roof, which, knowing that we were going to have to bid it out anyways with that price in mind, that's where it steered us to the Garland Company. So if it's bid out, those companies would certainly have an opportunity to bid on that as well. So, we could even do better than what Garland was thinking in the $300,000 range.
Sure. Well, and I think we want, obviously, lowest bidder isn't everything. Just because someone comes in with a lower price, we want quality work.
Correct.
So it sounds like you've got a good company there. I'm fine with leaving that up to you as far as if you think we need to get other bids or if you're comfortable moving forward with Garland.
I think that if the board is acceptable to it, we could certainly reach back out to Tim with Garland and see what the next step would be to put a bid spec together and bring that, of course, back to the board for your final approval to go out to bid. And of course, we would put the schedule together because I believe that there would be pre-bid meeting, bidding it out, and then of course accepting and opening those bids. But we can certainly work with Tim on that if that is what the board would like me to do.
Trustee Grumbles, are you good with that approach?
Yeah, that's fine. And I agree with your comments too. I think we need to look at the big picture and make a smarter decision there. Something more, a better quality or a more sustainable product or approach would be beneficial here.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we're in agreement on the path forward.
Very good. I will reach out to Tim and see what the next steps are to put a bid spec together, and I will report back to the board.
Wonderful.
Or I'll work through Andrew to report back to the board.
Okay, so just, this is Lisa, sorry, just to confirm, are we going to call that a consensus then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. That takes us to Fiscal Officer Report. Ms. Kraft.
Okay, so we've got just a couple things tonight. The first is we received our Schedule A as well as our Certificate of Estimated Resources from the Delaware County Auditor's Office. Hopefully you've both had a chance to look at that. It was actually pretty much in line with what we had submitted as our estimated resources, so felt pretty good about that and the numbers they're reporting. So if you've looked at the Schedule A, you see on a mill, we're earning about $1.2 million right now. So on each mill of outside millage, okay? Are there any, and as part of the process with Delaware County, we do need you as a board to accept these numbers, and then I have to send a certified resolution back to the auditor's office. So Hence the reason for the resolution on tonight's agenda. And then secondly, monthly financials. The reports were distributed on September 3rd. You should have received the bank rec, cash summary, our expense or appropriation status report, our tax status report, and the department status or fund status report. Just some highlights. Our ending cash was $23,684,499.14, which includes investments of about $8.6 million with Fifth Third and $10 million with Star Ohio. As far as our department cash balances, the general fund is at $5 million, roads at $5.3 million, fire at 6.1, and parks at 5.7. I expect to see those numbers go down, especially with some of the stuff that's getting approved and worked on through Bill's team. Our expenses through August 31st are $8 million, and our tax revenue that's been collected is about $10 million. Just a few other notes. I did send an email. We did have an unauthorized ACH transaction for $709.53 on August 25th. First Commonwealth is going to be reversing that charge. And I think I mentioned when we talked about implementing remote deposit that positive pay was next. And this is an example of why we're going to need positive pay. For those that don't know, positive pay is basically we will be uploading our transactions every night to First Commonwealth Bank. And if it's not in our file, they won't approve the transaction to be paid. So I'll be putting together a proposal to move forward with that in the next 30 to 60 days. And that's all I've got on the financials. Are there any questions on the reports you received?
I don't have any questions. It looks like we have one resolution to approve.
Right, the one for accepting the Schedule A and Certificate of Estimated Resources.
Okay. Trustee Grumbles, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add. I appreciate the explanation and all the updates.
Okay, thank you.
And we're on 317, correct?
We are.
All right. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-317, accepting the official certificate of estimated resources for the fiscal year beginning January 1st of 2020.
21.
2021.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
and Ms. Taranto. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Administrative report, Mr. King.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we took care of the PACE matter. I'll just sort of give a brief report. Mr. Cowan sort of talked about a number of the projects, and I just wanted to, again, sort of publicly call out his folks, particularly Mike Kelly and Aaron James. They've been working on a number of things that you heard tonight, everything from bike trails to ADA ramps to the pool facilities to looking at facilities upgrades. So they've been hard at work during all of this COVID stuff. The next thing on the agenda that you see there is signage. So I think previous to my tenure here in Orange Township, the township did a wayfinding study that recommended some signage. So with the possibility of needing to put some signs up in the future with the Finance Authority, it was a time to sort of look at that project again. And I don't know if Chairman Rivers, if you wanted to sort of add to it or not.
Yeah, so just a little background. This was actually part of the branding project, which included a wayfinding study that was started in 2018. It was submitted, final product to us in early 2019. Unfortunately, that was never actually adopted. However, in being a delay, I think it may have actually worked out overall to our advantage, being that we've moved forward with the overlay and the branding of 23 of the signage that was called for along 23. We look now that we have a partner with the Finance Authority in Delaware County that will be co-branded with DC 23, and also should we have the approval here soon for the cost being covered through the Finance Authority. So that helps bring the cost down for Orange Township. Obviously, right now, with our zoning and parks and all that Bill and Michelle have on their plate, Finance Authority was able to help kind of bring this forward through as far as getting a bid and identifying a local company here that can put these signs together and implement the first phase. The signs for 23, those probably the early next year. Those are a little more complicated, being that you've got utilities and different things along 23. So those will take a little bit more time, but it fits with our timeline. However, we do want to move forward and see these signs that are in Orange Township, have those go in before the ground freezes. So we do want to get moving on this. There was, as the information was put out today, the types of signs are identified for each area. There are some loose ends to tie up as far as the exact verbiage on some of these signs. So we're looking to this evening is officially adopt the wayfinding study and then open up a purchase order for $80,000. So our company can get this on the calendar, and we can get this scheduled here in the coming month or two. Also included in it is I know Trustee Grumbles and Mr. King have been working with our vendor program and our no solicitation policy. So we also have signage included that will help as far as the area and putting the message out there that you do need a permit to go door to door in Orange Township. So that's also included as well. Overall, the price is we're in a much better position, and we brought significantly reduced cost than where we started at when this was brought forward. And this was appropriated back in going into 2019 for this, and with our parks where we're at now, we actually have a carryover of money that we have to spend. So this was appropriated and planned for back a year ago, and I think it will really help as far as creating that sense of place and the identity that we've worked on so hard with the branding project. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add. Trustee Grumbles, you have any thoughts?
No, just think it's long overdue and glad to see this move forward. Start the more formal branding efforts, and certainly think this is a necessary touch. I like the idea of obviously the no soliciting and the solicitation by permit only type verbiage. I think that'll go a long way in talking to some of the vendors myself, making sure they know where the boundaries are, but more importantly, giving the community a sense of community and starting to move towards that branding effort and something that we can be proud of as the timing here is great. I like that we're partnering with the DC 23 effort, because I think that's a great opportunity for us to kind of rediscover our identity and make an effort to double down on that and reshape kind of what we've done and what exists today. And now that we've caught our breath a bit with growth, and I just think this is all good, and look forward to seeing the outcome here.
And again, this will be the first phase. And the second phase will be along 23. That would be first quarter of 2021 will be the goal. And I believe there's just within the resolution, there's the dollar amount for the purchase order. I think that's all that I need to add. We're on 20318, Ms. Kraft.
Yes, we are.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-318, accepting the wayfinding study and approving the placement of signage throughout Orange Township in conjunction with the Delaware County Finance Authority. And under R, the fiscal officer is directed to open a purchase order in the amount of $80,000.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Triento.
All righty, well, thank you. So the next item is approving an additional contract with GoHR. So as just, for the benefit of everyone here, GoHR came in, they did an audit for us, and then they implemented a number of improvements in our HR system. So that project is done. Tonight on the consent agenda, you sort of cleaned up the purchase order for that. So that is done. But going forward, there's a number of projects that a company like GoHR can help us with. One that I specifically asked them to call out, and you saw in the scope of work, was the policy manual. So as will be discussed here tonight, we've been working on a number of different policies to update and whatnot. So contracting with a company like that to help review the policies and make sure that their best practices, industry standard is good. At some point, the policy book may need a legal review, but doing it this way, I would anticipate saves money. I can tell you from experience, the prosecuting attorney's office typically doesn't prefer to do employment stuff, and on detailed employment stuff, they sort of say, hey, it's kind of specialized. We prefer you get someone else. So it seemed like a good opportunity to be responsible with funds and reach out to GoHR on this. So that is a project that can work with them on. We've Trustee Grumbles and I had an opportunity one afternoon to talk with the president of the company. So there's a number of projects that she can help us with. So this contract basically would be a services contract that it would allow the township to work with her on the project, like the policy manual, and then sort of on an as needed basis during the month. So that I'm happy to give more detail, or if the board has any questions about it.
I don't have anything. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-319, approving a services contract with GoHR.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Triento.
So the next item is discussion and action regarding policy. So I think there's ultimately two policies under consideration. One, I think, will show up in old business, the credit card policy. The other is updating the travel policy, which I disseminated a revised version earlier today. The there's a couple driving factors in looking at the policy, since we've been teleworking for a bit in certain positions, was to help clean up some of the little things we run into along the way, like when employees need reimbursement or things of that nature. Also to sort of better break out who is and who isn't eligible. For example, just generally speaking, our firefighters cannot telework their job. They have to show up, get on the truck and answer the call. So it was, clarifying some of those categories of job duties. So as I mentioned in the email, Bridget Hyde from Eastman and Smith reviewed it. She made the recommendations. She also was the one, I think that she basically took the policy that existed before, made some tweaks to it, and then she generated the Exhibit A, which mainly breaks out those categories and also provides the board a framework if another emergency was ever to happen again on sort of who gets called in, who's supposed to stay home, and how we sort of continue operations until the board is able to act with more thought, I guess. So that was also one, I think, something that Bridget wanted to address. So the policy, I put it on here for discussion and consideration. I was not around when the previous one was implemented, so I don't know if the board is comfortable with these changes, if that's something that you can direct me to implement, or if it's something that needs a formal resolution. So I don't know how the board wished to proceed, but I'm happy to field any comments, and we can go from there on this policy.
So you're not sure if we passed a formal resolution before?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Then it'd probably be
And-
prudent. I'm sorry, trustee, go ahead.
And we went through all of this. I think I worked with Mr. King on a bunch of this over the past few weeks, and mostly today, just catching up. But there were some small changes and stuff like that. And we went through this back in March, I believe. So yeah, March 19th, as it says there. So.
Well, I guess if the board is comfortable with the changes, I would ask the board to adopt the policy by resolution then.
Can I just ask a question, Andrew?
Ma'am?
I just had one question about, since it does apply, reading this correctly to elected officials, I know, for example, I went to North Carolina for a week, and you guys, I don't know if you even knew, it was just a remote meeting anyway, so I remoted in from North Carolina. Would I have to have that pre-approved prior to going on vacation for a week?
So I think there's a footnote in there where so Bridget and I talked about this, and the general concern, I think, is there's a couple of legal things like workers' comp, network security, things like that we sort of feel universally apply to everyone when they're logging in and doing township business. So I think the footnote would be to the maximum extent possible. I mean, you're your own office, so I don't know if you need to fill out a form. I mean, I guess, it's one of those things we could just sort of talk through. I think that was the way Bridget and I felt like we could approach it, is just say, hey, to the maximum extent possible, the 4 office holders should try to follow it, just again, to avoid any sort of network intrusion or any other exotic legal theory that could lead to some sort of township liability. Does that sort of answer it? I know it's not a direct answer, but does it give some sort of sense of what the policy was intended to do?
Yeah, and I get that. That's one of the reasons I wanted a laptop, just so that I wouldn't, put the township at risk with, using my personal computer in case something were to, virus comes through, even with antivirus or whatever. So, okay, well, I guess a courtesy, hey, I'm going out of town. That's probably the way that I would handle that. So.
Sure, and I think, and again, I sort of bounced this off Steve Lewis because we had a conversation about the Wi-Fi and whether or not it could be a public Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. So, in there's things like about using the VPN and all that kind of stuff. Using the township laptop was going to have the antivirus software and all that kind of stuff. So, again, those are the sorts of things that I think would be an example of following the spirit of the policy and the elements when you can follow them.
Yeah. Okay.
So Mr. King, what verbiage then do we want to use for a formal resolution?
if you want to just borrow something, you could scroll down to the template in the credit card section and use that. So,
The adoption of,
yeah, I mean, I think the resolution can be as simple as the board approves the copy of the policy, the telework policy, and it's an exhibit. And, you know, we can attach it as we've done with other exhibits to the minutes. So like, for example, if you scroll down the template to the credit card policy, if the board were adopted tonight, it was sort of incorporated into the resolution as an exhibit. So I think the board could just make that simple motion to adopt the revised telework policy.
so I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-320, adopting the revised telework policy in exhibit.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto.
Well, thank you. And that basically wraps it up for me. I'll just sort of say real briefly that, you know, we've been working on a number. I know I sort of said this last meeting, but the CBIZ implementation, I think, is going as pretty good so far. So and we continue to have calls with them and fill out their discovery documents and move forward on that. So I think we're getting in a good place on that. And then the other thing is we did hear back on the Dude Solutions. We've been working on getting that data uploaded to them. And Mr. Cowan and I think got an email today from them about the facilities assessment and to come out and start doing that sort of capital planning phase of the project. So the things that the board's been approving, we're implementing and we're moving them right along. So and so far so good. So again, thanks for all of it, and we'll get it done.
Great, thank you. So that takes us to old business. We have the two items that Mr. King touched on. I don't know if you want to cover these two, or Lisa.
I think we could probably do them together. I can start with the Elon card agreement. And I'm going to be totally upfront about this. And I've talked to, I think, Mr. Rivers or Mr. King rather about this, you know, about what amount of risk we want to take. And that's what I want to talk to the board about. With the Elon card agreement, let me back up a minute. Mr. Betts from the prosecutor's office did a detailed review of the contract, the user agreement, as well as the terms and conditions. And let me go back to my emails here so I can read it. So Elon Card did accept all of the changes that were part of the, they accepted all of our changes and requested the additional signage page. But regarding the amendment, Elon said their legal team could not negotiate the application. So the application being, the individual application for each user. So so I took that back to Mr. Betts, and he was still concerned. He said, it does present significant issues and concerns for the township in terms of indemnity, confession of judgment, penalties of 100,000 plus, etc. So, when talking this through with Andrew, given that there's not going to be a user with a $50,000 limit, to date, knock on wood, we have not had an issue with credit cards being abused, and thankfully we're putting in place a new purchase card policy that gives us protections against that. But there were some concerns, like I said, from a risk standpoint on our, the risk of signing an agreement with Elon. So I just want to be upfront about it and ask if there's any questions. Andrew, do you have anything to add on that?
I think you covered the substance of it, Ms. Kraft. I mean, I'll just sort of reiterate what was said is I think I talked to Chris Thursday or Friday last week, and he asked me about it, and I said, what Ms. Kraft represented here, that the Elon had accepted all the Chris's recommended changes to terms and conditions, but wouldn't budge on the end user agreement. And all Chris really said was he thought there were some legally offensive terms in there, and I think he thought it was particularly egregious. So when I talked to Ms. Kraft about it, I think what she represented, I think, is the accurate sum of it. I mean, Liberty Township has adopted this and currently using it. So it just sort of becomes, are those sorts of provisions, such as the confession of judgment and those sorts of things, an actual risk to the board and something that they might experience as a loss. And I think that's really where it's at, is sort of where the board feels on this. I think that just part of the conversation I had with Ms. Kraft is what the actual exposure is on a transaction type basis. And, with some of the limits and things being put on there, those worst case scenarios don't seem possible, but if somehow they do, then that is what the language of the contract does say.
Well, and I've talked to you both, and I get where the concerns were for Mr. Betts and what was addressed. So at this point, I'm comfortable with moving forward.
Mr. Grumbles, any questions or concerns from your standpoint?
No, I reviewed the policies. I didn't have any concerns. I had some suggestions and talked through some things with Mr. King, and I thought that it seemed pretty straightforward and reasonable to me.
And I'd also like to stress, I mean, this is not, the fiscal office is not going to be working in a silo on this. I mean, I'm going to be sitting side by side with Andrew to set, with Mr. King to set these limits, because we can set the limits by, individual card. Also setting the limits on what they can purchase, where they can purchase to. So this isn't just, this is going to be a coordinated effort to make sure we do minimize that risk.
And how about the purchasing card policy?
I know I had reviewed that with Chris, with Mr. Betts, and then Andrew just did this, made a few other tweaks to it. Andrew, do you want to talk about any other changes you made there?
That was more of what I was referring to, I guess. I didn't, the agreement portion of that has been long overdue, so I'm okay with that, and I'm also okay with the purchasing card policy, and would like to point out that my comments pertain to that. I know that the difficulty there was in making sure we navigated through the gray matter, and as far as operations, fiscal separation of duties and all of that goes, and finding balance. And I thought that Ms. Kraft, your comments there about how there's a design partnership there between the two departments was well noted, and was the intent of reviewing and updating the policy.
All right. Well, fair enough. I think we're good with both then. So I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-321 for the authorization of the fiscal officer or trustee to execute the service agreement with Elon.
I think that's 319, Ryan.
20319.
I think so. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right. 320. I missed the Go HR one. Go ahead.
Or so I had 20321.
No, I have.
The purchase, there was the Go HR, and then there was the telework policy.
Oh, shoot. That's right. That's 319. Thank you. Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Hey, I finally got one right. See? Before you
I was
all
gonna say,
to me, so
after all this time, he's
I still
finally
got a long
confused
way to go,
everybody.
gotcha. So I make the motion to approve resolution 20-321, authorization of the fiscal officer or trustee to execute the service agreement with Elon.
Second,
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
yes.
Ms. Tranto.
And I make the motion to approve resolution 20-322, the adoption of purchasing card account policy.
Second,
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
yes.
Ms. Tranto.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Kraft. So no executive session, and I did want to bring up, we set the hearing for October 5th. However, we didn't make a formal motion as far as the trustee meeting time. So unless you want to pull, we want to do 2 in a morning and evening.
Let's go ahead and pass a resolution and move the meeting times for the rest of the year to 6, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. So I'll make the motion to approve resolution 20-323 to reschedule trustee meetings of October 5th, 2020, November 2nd, 2020, and December 7th of 2020 from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Second,
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
yes.
Ms. Tranto.
One last item I wanted to add for everyone. The Delaware County Township Association is going to be having an online event October 8th at 7 o'clock. Just kind of a year in review, a look at the major projects in the county, what's been accomplished, and kind of a look ahead into next year. So just to say the date has gone out. I think some of the new members here this year and updating everything didn't get the initial email. So like Lisa and Andrew, I don't think you got the email, but there was a correction made. So you should be receiving everything going forward. But just a heads up, that will be online and a public event, and just something to put on everyone's radar. That is all I have for this evening. Does anyone else have anything to add? All right, I will make the motion to adjourn.
Second,
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
yes.
Ms. Tranto. Have a great
Thank you,
night,
everyone.
everybody.
Have a great evening.